Good afternoon, everyone. This is the training on emergency action procedures for our calendar year. My name is Kenneth Parker. As everybody knows, I want to go over our emergency action procedure and our annual security brief to satisfy our training requirement. Emergency action is the response that everybody has to put into place whenever there's a type of event. Emergencies stem from medical emergencies to security emergencies to sometimes we have what we call biological emergencies. Medicals are things when people get hurt or injured. Security is when those who are doing things they're not supposed to be doing. Biological are snowstorms, earthquakes, hurricanes, things of that nature that we have to have response for. So the first thing we're going to talk about is who our chain of command is. First thing, the chain of command in our facility is one of the assistants. You can either contact Josh, who's our team coordinator, or Miss Shalonda, who's our assistant director. Then myself will be the next level chain of command. Then after myself and Miss Renee Grant over at the CDC. You have to follow the contacts for Josh, Lon, and myself. If you do not have Miss Renee's, the CDC number is 757-967-2676. Those are our chain of command, and those are responsible for who you should contact in kind of emergency. Let's talk about evacuation routes now. If you ever had to evacuate the facility, we have posted signs of how to evacuate the facility. We have signs showing a primary route in green and a secondary route in red. Please make sure that if you're in any area that you understand which way to get out of those buildings. The rendezvous locations are these two locations. If you are in 1498, the rendezvous location is behind 1497. Not on the side of it anymore, behind, because we want to decrease the visibility of anybody. For 1497, the rendezvous station is the middle of the pavilion area right here, and then once all the children are found and everything like that, you're going to move behind 1498. What we want to do is we want to make sure that we have limited movement by everybody, and also we keep so any kind of emergency response vehicles can get into our area. Emergency response phone number is 757-396-333. Again, that's 757-396-333. 4 threes. So we are the contact base based on emergency services because we are a base facility. Though we're in the housing area is responded to by Portsmouth Police Department because we are Navy facilities. That's why we have Navy response. Whenever you have to contact somebody, if there's not a manager on duty, then you need to let someone in your chain know what's going on. In case of a medical emergency, we're contacting our chain, we're contacting the proper authorities for emergency response, and we'll also be ready to contact that parent if necessary. Please make sure that you're documenting time, things that have happened, so that we can make sure we can pass that information on to those who are responding, and also if we have any reporting we need to do. So that's the case of medical emergencies. Medical emergencies could be child falls and hurt themselves. We've had a broken arm on the playground. We've had children who've had seizures. We have a myriad of things that have happened. There's been medical responses that we need to be aware of. Fire response, same protocol. We're going to evacuate the building. We're going to make sure we have all personnel, all children and staff accounted for. So that way, if fire personnel come in, if we don't have somebody accounted for, we can say, hey, we don't know where they're at. The last known place of last known we saw them was in this section of this building, so forth and so forth. So those professionals know how to conduct the search to make sure we have everybody that's where they're supposed to be at. Fires need fire. We need to have people away from the fire, and then whenever we have a fire alarm go off, any lead or manager on duty is going to sweep the building. They're not going to help you evacuate. They're going to walk through the spaces and make sure that children are not hiding under tables. They're not hiding in cabinets. They're not hiding in the bathroom thinking they were playing games. So whenever we have a fire alarm go off, please treat this as a real fire so that when children understand that's a real fire. Severe weather and natural disasters. What we're going to do is we're going to have different protocols that we do, like essential personnel, mission essential, things like that. You hear all of those things come up. CYP is mission essential, so everybody understand that we must be understanding that we are mission essential employees and that we will respond when mission essential comes about. That is designated by the Camera Rock, who's our current Sonoma installation commander. So he will make the determination and help all of the CEOs of the different installations in our metro and region area understand where we're supposed to be at and what we're supposed to be. If we're supposed to be fully closed, if we're supposed to be mission essential, if we have children that need to come, we will make all determinations, and the appropriate staff will be placed at the appropriate location. We want to keep it down to one location just for security purposes and helping us make sure we keep everybody safe. Um, One thing I want to make sure everybody understands is that whenever we have an emergency, that might be something that's like it's a security emergency, we have a protocol that we can go over. Like one time, we had different code words to let it know it was a medical emergency and a security emergency. I'm going to correct myself. A security emergency, and we had a lockdown. That is now peanuts, nuts. Anything that we talk about over the radio dealing with peanuts or nuts, that means you are to lock down. It means you are to shelter in place. Let's talk about the difference. We talked about evacuations when you leave the facility. Shelter in place is when you shelter in your area and you're hiding, you're quiet, you're doing things. Like, I'll give you an example. If you're in shelter in place in the library, you want to get under tables, you want to shut that library door, you want to get away from that door so nobody can see in there. You want to kind of put stuff in place so the people so nobody can get into that door. So you want to kind of basically barricade yourself into an area. You want to practice it with the kids. You want to practice it with the kids that are in your room, on your buses and things of that nature, so they understand that, hey, if we're doing this, it's not play games. This is not time to be yelling or like we have some friends who just want to make noise when they want to make noise. It's time to be quiet because we're trying to make sure we're being safe. So those are some of the things I want you to be aware of as far as our emergency action. We talked about shelter in place. Also, shelter in place. Cell phones vibrate, quiet. Turn your lighting down. Don't have different ways where people can identify that people are in that room through devices and things of that nature. Turn your radio down. I mean, because believe me, we're shelter in place. Nobody's having a lot of radio traffic, so we're gonna do what we need to do to get ourselves safe and out of harm's way as best as possible. If we have what we call an active shooter, and we're in a lockdown procedure, as we talked about in our active shooter drills, everybody should remain as calm as possible, and understanding that the first personnel that we see coming to our facility that are on the good guy side are not there to support us in any kind of medical treatment or evacuation. Their sole purpose is to neutralize the intruder. Again, I'm going to say it there, to neutralize the intruder. They don't know who the intruder is. They don't know if it's 1, 2 group or not. So you should be in a position of non-threatening, or I'm going to say non-threatening position. Lie down, lock your fingers behind your head, do different things and tell that person that is coming to do what they need to do that, hey, I am not the threat. You can continue to move along to find the threats. Then, you will know when it's all clear, and they might still detain you, put you in handcuffs or something to get you out till they evaluate who everybody is, but they will let you know when you can move safely and not risk of what we call friendly fire, where somebody doesn't interpret you as possibly being an intruder because you're not doing the protocol. Again, if you are involved in a process like that, wait till you are instructed to move. Do not jump up and run up and tell nobody, save me or anything like that. That is not the proper protocol. Have the children do the same thing. Teach them to sit down, get quiet, lock their hands, do everything they like to do. Make sure that your hands are visible to people and that everybody understands that the process will come to an end as quickly as possible. Okay, but we want to make sure everybody is safe. We went over evacuations, telephone bomb threat. A lot of times we answer the phone. At each phone, there is going to be some documentation of if somebody threatens the center by bomb. You're going to take that form. You're going to write as much information as you can about it. If it's a male voice, if it sounds like it's an adult male, when they're talking fast like Mr. Kenny, or when they're talking slow like somebody else might be talking slow, were they calm, were they making threats to one person, when did they say it's going to happen, was it today, is it tomorrow, you're going to try to get as much information as possible in that call before that person hangs up so you can annotate it in those forms. So you want to make sure that you're calm and you're listening, and if they want to talk, let them talk. Let them figure out what's going on so we can make sure we get the correct information to correct investigating bodies. That is what we have a bomb threat. Again, if you have any information or any questions about these things, please let me know. Now let's talk about off-site rendezvous locations. Right now, we do bus runs all of the time. So what we're going to do is, if you are off site and you get a call that we're sheltering in place from another director or manager, your rendezvous point will be at the Scott Center CDC. That's why it's imperative that everybody has their ID on them to get on base. That you can take those kids to a safe location, which is on base, because that's a guarded area behind a guard gate, and that they're going to be there until you get further instructions. I want to make sure everybody has these numbers locked in their phone just in case you need it. CDC at New Gosport, 757-967-2676. That's the CDC at New Gosport. The CDC at 1510 is 757-396-3665. Again, at 757-396-3665. Those are two numbers that if you need anything, call them. Believe me, they will be involved abreast of what the plan is. You go park there at home if you need snacks. CDC at Scott Center has snacks. That way, if most parents will be able to get on the base once the base is allowing them to get on the base to get to their children. So that's one place that we know we can be safe, and you wait further instructions to what you need to do once you arrive there. So if you ever have a question where I'm supposed to go to Scott Center CDC and await further instructions. So that's your EAP part of this training. Again, if you have any questions, please contact me. Now let's talk about annual security brief. The security of the Navy is entrusted to all personnel, including DoD civilians such as ourselves. We must ensure that we are doing the correct thing to make sure that everybody is in line with the mission of making sure that we are mission ready, make sure all our warfighters are ready to defend our country. Some of the things that as CYP professionals we have to do is we have to understand that we need to safeguard certain things. Let's safeguard names of our children. That's why we don't put PII up on the walls. We safeguard our different locations of what we store things at. Like we don't set up where we store our medicine at. We don't do all of those things like that. You also need to be safeguarded how you do your routine and talk to people outside of this facility. Definitely should not be wearing your identifying material outside, like your CYP logo, like I have right here. We should be wearing it outside of our facility. We should be walking down the middle of Walmart saying, "Hey, we're Navy CYP." That's a calling card for somebody who might want to threaten the United States and say, "Hey, that's a government employee right there." So that's somebody that might be a person of interest for me. We shouldn't have long, drawn-out conversations about our job with anybody, about especially like different protocols, like we go to Portsmouth Naval for this, and we do this here, and then we go do our security checks here, and all of that. We don't want to give people the protocol of how we do our different things. It's a kind of a need-to-know basis. That's why sometimes you guys get frustrated with me because it's need to know. Because some things I know are at my classified level that I can talk about with you, and then some things I can't talk about with you. And it's a frustrating thing, but that's the way of our world as far as our military. Because the more people know, the more likely it can be passed to anybody who wants to get that information that might be the wrong person. Social media, a lot of different things, the way people try to redact information from people, try to grab information from people, and we don't. We want to make sure we get those into the right hands. If you ever feel uncomfortable about a person talking to you or co-worker, anybody else doing things, people threatening, people saying they're making threats to the United States, saying we should do this, the government is this, and all that stuff like that, let's be very careful of that. That's why I'm a strong believer of we don't talk about religion, politics, and other things like this at work. Those are things you do you could do in your personal life, but not here at work, because our sole job is the defending the Constitution. And then defending the Constitution, we're supposed to be taking care of the children who are working actively every day to help defend that Constitution. So we got to be very careful about our personal beliefs at work, and that's what I say personal. At personal, you can be as personal as you want to at home, but at work, we want to make sure we're doing what we're entrusted to do at work, and that's the biggest thing we want to do as far as our security brief. For your personal security, make sure that you are aware of what you're doing at work, not only at work, but as at home, because a lot of times if you do the same thing and you are very real, how I want to say, have the same habits that people can learn your daily life, they can kind of pinpoint how to find vulnerabilities in that. If you go the same route home, if you leave the house at the same time, if you stop at the same gas station on the same day, and you do all of those different things that people are like, hey, you have a routine, they can find out how to manipulate your routine. So be constantly vigilant of what you do, change up different things. Instead of going to Sitco today, go to BP. And instead of going on a Monday, go on a Tuesday. Um, don't go down I-64, go down 17. I mean, do different things that's going to change up your routine so people can't know what you're doing, and also you can identify if somebody's actually doing something else. Because if you go on a different route and you make different turns, you know they don't do, and a car behind you is doing the same turns, like where are they going? You can start asking yourself that question. I turn left here. I usually don't go left here. And I turn another right. I'm not even supposed to be doing right, and they're still making rights behind me. What's going on? Do I know who this person is? Should I be curious? Should I be contacting authorities? Different things like that as far as your personal security. Um, Also, be aware that within your security, what you do affects your security clearance. So that's why we just did the statement of admission. So be aware that those things have to be reported. If something were to happen, Mr. Kenny got into he's coaching soccer. And there's a brawl on the soccer field. Me and other coach and other team get into it. I have to report that. I have to let them know that, hey, I got detained because of this situation. I need to report that to my boss, who is Mr. Renee Grant, as soon as possible. And that way it could be identified. If something has to be investigated, it has to be investigated. But you want to let people know what's going on within certain areas. And I think everybody is astute enough to understand this is something I need to report, or no, this is something don't need to report. If you have a question, come ask me. I definitely will talk to you one-on-one about that. Security, also make sure you have your CAT card. That is supposed to be on your person at all times. That's not in your wallet. That's not in your car. That is on your person at all times. We've been having different RAMs where security MAs have been security personnel who are MAs have been walking around with guns and things of that nature. That's their job. If they walk up to you and say, "Hey, I want to do a random bag search," or "I want to see your ID card," and you cannot produce it for them, they have the right to detain you. So I want to make sure that you understand that your ID card must be on you at all times. I know I put my ID card on my computer, so I'm always trying to figure out. That's why I leave my wallet on my table, because when I grab my wallet, I open it up and look, okay, my ID not in there, so I got to put my ID in. So a lot of times I do different things to try to trigger myself to know that I need to have my stuff with me at all times. So that way I can be in full compliance of all rules. So those are some of the different things about security and emergency action plans. A lot of stuff is redundant. We've been doing things like this for a while. Biggest thing to know is to act. To act. If you don't feel comfortable about something as far as security measures, let somebody know something. If it's an emergency, take control. Get people to safety. That's the biggest thing is. The whole point of everything is to save life and property if we possible. Um, as a firefighter, I'm very, very aware of understanding that what you do and what you practice on a very ongoing basis will be something that becomes instant muscle memory when a situation happens. When we practice doing different things, and sometimes we get tired and frustrated about practicing and practicing and practicing, but when the real thing happens and you just go into run into effect to get something accomplished, when you have only seconds, sometimes it makes you feel better when you can get the desired outcome that you want, knowing that you were prepared for it. So I want everybody to be prepared. Make sure that you understand what to do in all situations. And if you have any questions, please ask. If I have a lot of questions, I need to redo this video again, I'll redo the video again. But thank you for your time. And once you've done this video, please sign the log up front and show that you've got your EAP, emergency action plan, procedures training done, and your annual security brief. Thank you and have a good day.